There are many things that can make a character well-rounded, but sometimes it can be defined in two ways: their strengths and flaws. Without these two simple things as an aspect for a character's foundation, there is nothing to build upon. What may be simple on the surface of a character, there might be something deeper. This is what I think of when I think of Boromir from Lord of the Rings film. A character with these two simple ideas, but if we were to look closer, we find a lot more depth. Welcome to Good Character Design, and this time I will go over Boromir of Gondor. Before going on with the video, let's set up some ground rules for discussing Boromir as a character. I'm only going by Lord of the Rings movies only, no book references or external material. However, I am using the extended edition of the movies. These are the real editions, the director's vision. With all that context, we can look at Boromir in a clearer way. Now on with the rest of the video. I believe it's important to view the character for the first time when they appear in the film. What they're doing or saying gives you a good idea what the character is. Boromir arrives on horse at the elven settlement of Rivendell, the city being a hidden haven for their race, the elves. Boromir looks around his surroundings because he is a foreigner to this land. Where Boromir comes from is hundreds of miles away, the Kingdom of Gondor, a place where kings of men live. This is an important kingdom in Middle-earth. Like I said, it's where the King of Men live. This is why he is here, because Elrond called them there to decide what to do with the Ring of Power. All the races of Middle-earth show to decide the fate of this world. Each person that shows up to Rivendell is a representative of that race, or at least the best of that race. Boromir is the son of the current steward of Gondor, because the king bloodline is missing from the kingdom. What they don't tell you until a little later, that he is in Rivendell as well. We will get to that later on, but we need to know why Boromir is there, beyond his rank or lineage. I want to begin in the Two Towers movie in the extended scene, where Faramir is remembering his brother while looking at Boromir's broken call horn. It begins with Boromir on top of a building and inspiring his fellow soldiers. They have just taken back a city of Gondor named Osgiliath. It seemed to be a long war campaign just how much impact Boromir's speech has and how the city looks. Osgiliath is a city very close to the border of Mordor, so defending it isn't difficult, but somehow they have succeeded. There is no sign of orcs or any enemy action in these scenes. A complete victory. Back to Boromir being on top of the building. He is holding a flag of Gondor, meaning they are victorious. He is a hero to everyone in Gondor, and this is reflected in his words to his men. Even before his speech, everyone in the city is chanting the name of Boromir, and repeat it until he is ready. Boromir shouts so that people can hear and tells what the city of Osgiliath will be again. A city of light, song, and merriment. For this is what the city was and shall be again. He mentions also how this is for our people, which could mean the people of Gondor or mankind itself. After all, it is close to the source of evil in Mordor, which I said earlier. Finishing his speech, that to let Mordor know that Gondor will not fall again, chanting, "For Gondor!" 3 times with everyone repeating it. However, we are not done talking about Boromir's speech just yet. We need to talk about 2 more things: how the soldiers or his men see Boromir, and what the speech does. When he is upon the building, the people are overjoyed, and, if you remember, yelling his name in unison. They love Boromir, and what he stands for. Every time he finishes a sentence, they cheer. They believe in him, and when he says Osgiliath will come back to its full glory. The reason this speech is important to go over is because it contrasts Boromir in Gondor versus how he is treated in Rivendell later on. Here he is loved as a hero, and in Rivendell he's just a man, who people don't really trust. Later on that, when they have the meeting in Rivendell. After you're done with his speech, he looks for his brother Faramir. They seem to be on good terms as they embrace easily for a hug and are happy to see one another. Faramir comments on his speech and how great it was, but short. Boromir says, "More time for drinking." He is more occupied with making sure his men are well taken care of than giving himself praise for anything he has done, including his speech. He says, "Break out the ale! These men are thirsty!" He wants to celebrate with them. The soldiers treat each other like family, since they have lived through combat with each other. You can feel the respect between them, even more so with the two brothers. Boromir bumps his frosted mug against Faramir's and says, "Life is good." Being with his men means a lot to him, and he finally gets to just relax with them for at least the day, without responsibility. Without danger. However, Faramir has a concerned look on his face. Boromir notices it and responds, "What?" And Faramir replies, "He is coming."
What? He's here.
Oh, one moment of peace can he not give us that?
Where is he? Where is Gondor?
Boromir knows who it is even without seeing him, because they're brothers, so just saying him says it all. An older man walks through the city, saying his congratulations as he moves. He seems to be important because everyone seems to know him. As he approaches Boromir, this man says, "Where is Gondor's finest? Where is my firstborn?" By this we know a couple of things about this man. We know that this is the brother's father, and he favors Boromir more. This is why they don't like him, even though he is their father. The father's name is Denethor, and this favoritism has brought the brothers closer, which is why Boromir was looking for his brother Faramir first, after his speech. When Boromir greets his father for a hug, it's almost like a pretend smile. This could be to keep up appearances to please his father, and this is proven later in the scene. Denethor gives all the credit to Boromir, and his men say the same before he greeted his son. Boromir says they boast, but Faramir also needs credit. Denethor switches to happy to upset, and blames Faramir for the loss of the city in the first place. Why he puts down Faramir and praises Boromir seems to be based on that he is the firstborn. Lineage seems to be the most important to the father, and it seems Boromir does get the job done. Also, it could be that Boromir gets more chances to do good things because of his lineage. The other brother is almost like a metaphorical punching bag. This must happen a lot, and therefore Boromir sticks up for him. After so many times Faramir is teared down, Boromir walks away from his conversation. He is fed up with this passive-aggressive attitude from his father toward his son. Denethor gives chase and they stop, and Boromir tells him straight up what he is thinking. He says, "Faramir loves you," which has the double meaning of why do you treat him like crap. Denethor knows what he is saying and responds, "I know his value." This has so quickly changed the subject toward what he wants Boromir to do next. He tells Boromir about something he thinks is more important, and so happens it is.
Elrond of Rivendell has called a meeting. He will not say why, but I have guessed its purpose. It is rumored the weapon of the enemy has been found.
The One Ring.
Denethor asks him to go to Rivendell. He suspects the weapon of the enemy has been found. If it is the One Ring, Denethor wants it for Gondor, to use it. Another reason that he knows others will want it for themselves. Boromir has concerns written all over his face, so Denethor boasts Boromir. He tells him, It may corrupt the hearts of lesser men, but not you. The people of Gondor seem to know about the ring and what it did to Isildur, which is now legend. Being so close to Mordor also makes this legend seem more true. Denethor also tries to manipulate Boromir about his love for his men. He tells him, "It's our blood that has been spilt," meaning his father wants him to go not only because he wants the ring. Take 6. Denethor also tries to manipulate Boromir about his love for his men. He tells him, "It's our blood that has been spilt," meaning his father wants him to go not only because he wants the ring, but also if he doesn't, more blood will be spilt. This reinforces also if Gondor does not have the ring, Sauron will come back, and that will be Boromir's fault. He is trying to put fear into Boromir so he will go and not fail him. Boromir knows he is being manipulated. I don't think he knows how, so he refuses. He says, "I belong with my people." This means no, but unfortunately not a complete refusal. He sounds like he doesn't want to disappoint his father. Faramir hears a last line and says he wants to go if Boromir doesn't want to. This tells us both brothers don't want to disappoint their father. There must have been some honor in the steward in the past if both brothers want his favor. When Denethor hears what Faramir has said, he frowns and responds with, "I trust this mission only to your brother, the one that will not fail me." He even laughs when he responds as well.
If there's need to go to Rivendell, send me in his stead.
You? I think not. I trust this mission only to your brother, the one who will not fail me.
The next scene is Boromir getting ready to go alone on horseback to Rivendell. Before he leaves, Faramir has one last talk with his brother as Boromir looks at the flag he planted before he gave his speech. The flag of Gondor, the flag of his people and their victory over the evils of Mordor. The brothers look at each other, and gaze means good luck to one another. Once they leave each other, they will not know what is happening to each other. Boromir loves his brother, his people, his men, and yes, even the false king, his father. However, he must leave to fulfill the wishes of the kingdom of Gondor. As he leaves the destroyed city, Boromir says to his brother, "Remember this day, little brother." Does Boromir know in his heart of what will happen to him? Or does he want Faramir to see him this way before he leaves? Or does he mean remember the day Gondor has took back Osgiliath? Gondor at its best? We don't know for sure, but he goes as a hero to his people.
Remember today, little brother.
The main point of the Before Rivendell section is to see how close Boromir is to his people, land, and king. In his land, he is respected, I think, even more so than the steward. In this new area, he is barely known, but like I said before, he represents the men of Gondor. Only in that way, he is important in Rivendell. Like I said at the start of this, Boromir comes in on horseback. Also, at the same time, we hear a conversation between Gandalf and Elrond. They're having a little debate about who will take care of the ring, since the enemy knows the ring is there. Gandalf says we must put our trust in men. Elrond angrily responds, "Men are weak," and remembers back to Isildur, 3,000 years ago. Isildur could have destroyed the ring by dropping it into Mount Doom. Instead, he took the ring for himself. The will of mankind fell. What other races think about the ring will happen on the next day, so they settled in Rivendell for the night. Boromir, for whatever reasons, decided to explore the city while everyone else is sleeping. Probably to look at a certain sword in a remote location. This is the sword from the beginning of the film that was broken, and additionally cut off the hand of Sauron. Separating the ring from the rest of Sauron's body destroyed the evil threat of Middle-earth. But Sauron still exists in spirit form as long as the ring does. The broken blade is in Rivendell because it was made by the elves, so Boromir, being a man of Gondor, picks up the broken blade by the hilt. Holding it, he understands the history of it, also by looking at the painting of Isildur taking down Sauron. Now, since the story of the ring is in the territory of legend, because so much time has passed, I think the tale of how Sauron was destroyed has to be as well. Probably the story has been handed down by the royalty of Gondor. So Denethor having his first son probably being told Boromir the legend as bedtime stories, or something like that. As he looks at the blade, he notices another person there, a man reading. Boromir takes a closer look at him and notices he is not an elf. Probably a little surprised, he asks him who he is and why he is there. And the reason is kind of obvious that he asks is because he is shocked he's not an elf at an elven haven. The stranger introduces himself as Strider, a friend of Gandalf the Grey. Seeing another man, this means he is not alone there. Boromir, I think, notices Strider as a warrior as well. He has someone to confide in, a fellow man, a soldier. Boromir responds with, "Then we are here on common purpose, friend."
You are no elf?
The men of the South are welcome here.
Who are you?
I am friend to Gandalf the Grey.
Then we are here on common purpose. Friend?
The pause between the words purpose and friend could mean something. Does Boromir just want to be friends, or should all mankind be connected in hands of unity? Most likely to get over an awkward conversation. In any case, they both go back to what they were doing. Boromir looks closer at the broken blade in his hands, and feels its weight. It's like the legend is happening in his hands. He is probably imagining himself being the man who killed Sauron. Still not really believing what he has in his hands, he touches the edges of the cracked blade. It cuts his finger a bit, and comments that it's still sharp. After 3,000 years, it is not dulled. After the cut, Boromir is now out of his trance of wonder and looks around. He sees Strider now staring at him and gets upset. He says, "No more than a broken heirloom." And because he is not paying attention, he misses putting the sword back where it was placed. Boromir marches off angrily, and when the sword falls, he stops only for a second, then continues leaving. Why is he so upset? Well, it could be because he is a man of Gondor, and they don't need help from any other race. The blade was a symbol of unity between mankind and elves, but things have changed. They no longer have that connection in reality, and that situation hits Boromir. This is just a myth, and it can't help us now. Another thing that could have made him distressed is the Blade of Gondor is in an elven settlement. This is the sword that cut the hand of evil, and it was a man, not an elf. The sword, Narsil, again was made by elves, but they didn't do anything with it. Boromir could think, we did the heavy lifting of the battle. After all, the legendary stories of Gondor probably made Isildur the greatest hero. There are a lot of thoughts or reasons going through Boromir's mind as he walks away.
No more than a broken head.
The next day, all the races are gathered in a hidden meeting. Elrond, the leader of Rivendell, asks Frodo, a hobbit, to put the ring in the center. He does, and everyone reacts in different ways, but the overall emotion is fear.
Bring forth the ring, Frodo.
Boromir says to himself, "So it is true," which is a loud whisper. This makes sense because this confirms his father's prediction that the meeting was about the One Ring. Seeing the ring in front of him, Boromir is interested in it, which also makes him want the ring as a result. He is the first one to speak on the matter and stands up to talk. Boromir tells about a dream where Mordor will take over his land and others, all while getting closer to the ring, being seduced by its power. He reaches for it, and Gandalf intervenes with the black speech of Mordor, making his voice loud and sucking in some of the light around them all. This gets Boromir out of his temptation of the ring. When Gandalf says, "It is altogether evil," Boromir responds, "It is a gift." This insults Gandalf as he looks over his shoulder, but hears him out on the matter. He continues and says, "Why not use it against the enemy and give it to Gondor?" He uses his people as a shield emotionally by saying, "The blood of our people have kept you safe, so let's have the ring to use it for good." I have no idea if this is his father talking or if it's the ring's influence. Either way, Strider lets Boromir know why the ring cannot be used in this fashion. Strider says, "The ring answers to Sauron alone. It has no other master." Boromir sneers at him and, "What would a ranger know of this matter?" Legolas, an elf, hears this and is insulted and rebukes Boromir, telling him, "This is no mere ranger. This is your true king, named Aragorn, by bloodline." Boromir, hearing all of this, looks down on Strider at this moment. He is surprised but also offended. This could be because in some small way he respects his father as a steward. Or is it because they don't need your help because they're doing fine on their own? Where has this guy been all this time? He's probably thinking. He does not think Aragorn is a coward, but maybe he hates Gondor. After all, he knows Elvish as his second language.
Have a bad, Legolas.
As Boromir sits down, he says, "Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king." This is clearly an insult, but Aragorn lets it go. Since no one can hold it, they all come to the same conclusion. The ring must be destroyed.
The ring must be destroyed. What are we waiting for? The ring cannot be destroyed, Gimli, son of Gloin, by any craft that we here possess.
It can only be dropped in Mount Doom. They know how to destroy the ring. It's also the most dangerous option because the goal is in Mordor. When Boromir hears the ring must be destroyed, he seems to look disappointed in this, while shaking his head. Elrond says it must be tossed into Mount Doom to be destroyed. Boromir speaks about Mordor and how no one can go there. After all, the land he comes from is the closest to the evil of Mordor. He says while distraught that there are more than just orcs in Mordor. There is a presence, the Great Eye. It is ever-seeing and it never sleeps. With tens of thousands of people, you could not do this. It is folly. Not only that, the air you breathe is a volcanic ash. An argument is fooled by his words, but all is silenced when Frodo says he will take the ring to Mordor. All the representations join Frodo on his quest to destroy the ring. Boromir also joins, saying, "If this is indeed the will of the council, then Gondor will see it done." When Frodo says he will take the ring, they seem to be inspired by a hobbit taking responsibility. Even Boromir is humbled a bit by this and why the infighting stops.
9 companions. So be it. You shall be the Fellowship of the Ring.
Right.
Boromir, now with a group of people called the Fellowship of the Ring, go over the mountains and foothills. They are a small group to be less noticeable by enemy forces. When they rest, probably for the first time, Boromir is teaching the hobbits, Merry and Pippin, how to sword fight. He wants them to be able to defend themselves, and Boromir sees their willingness to help. Also, he has no opinion on where they should go next, at the moment. Only if that opinion leads him toward his goals. During training the hobbits, Boromir is a bit too hard on Pippin. He cuts his hand a little, and Boromir instantly regrets it. This shows he has pity on the hobbits. He has a heart for protecting people who seem to can't take care of themselves. He says sorry, but the hobbits take advantage of him, dropping his guard and tackle Boromir to the ground. Aragorn sees the good in him, as he's just playful fighting, and Boromir sort of lets it happen.
Sorry!
Like he is letting them feel good about themselves, so later on, they feel like they could fight. In fact, when he is done, he laughs as he would be playing with children. The hobbits respond in kind by saying things like, "For the Shire!" When Aragorn tries to stop them, he is unprepared and is tripped by the two hobbits. The fun ends, however, as Legolas spots a weird black cloud in the distance. Boromir says it's moving fast against the wind, meaning it's not clouds as Gimli said. Now they must hide because it's a murder of crows sent by Saruman as spies. They see the Fellowship, and so they must change their route to cross the mountain, which means heavy snow. The hobbits, because of their small size, have trouble with the snow's height. Frodo slips and falls in the snow and loses the ring, and who should find it but Boromir? Aragorn helps Frodo up as he realizes he lost the ring from his neck. They both see Boromir has the ring and are concerned that he might put it on, or take it for himself. He picks it up by its chain and looks at it with a gaze of wonder and lust. Aragorn says his name and tells him to give the ring back to Frodo. Boromir barely responds. He mutters something to himself, which could be heard by others. He says, "It is a strange fate that's so much fear and doubt for such a little thing." This means it's strange that the weight of the world is in this small ring. Aragorn now yells Boromir's name, and this snaps him out of his stupor, and is told to give the ring back. Boromir looks a bit shocked and now notices the worried look on Frodo's face. Like a mentally rehearsed play, he steps toward Frodo and gives the ring back and says, "As you wish." Frodo quickly grabs the ring back. Boromir even ruffles his hair, almost mockingly like a child. This mocking attitude seems like earlier. Unlike when he was play fighting with the other two hobbits, this time, maybe thanks to the ring, now does it as a disguise. Almost like he's trying to hide his temptation of the ring. The more they go on this road, the more things get worse. A snowstorm appears and becomes a blizzard. This blizzard is created by the White Wizard Saruman, which he also creates a bolt of lightning to block their path. You see, all of them would not probably survive the snowstorm and attacks from the White Wizard. The hobbits, not only being small, are not warriors with the training or the build to survive. Boromir knows this and says, "This'll be the death of the hobbits!" He also suggests they take the Gap of Rohan, meaning the ring would come closer to Gondor, which Boromir would like, and so would his father. This builds a little distrust between him and Aragorn, who shoots down the idea. Frodo decides that they should go through Moria, under the mountain, instead of over it. With advice from Gimli, a dwarf, and Frodo, they choose to go through the mines of Moria. When they enter the mine, Gimli says in jest that it's more than just a mine. Boromir says as he finds the dead bodies of dwarves and goblins, "It is no mine, it's a tomb." Because of all the bodies, Boromir suggests they take the Gap of Rohan. If these goblins can take out all these dwarves in their own mind, then the Fellowship doesn't stand a chance. They cannot leave because of a kraken, an octopus-like creature, takes Frodo. While fighting it off, it crushes the doors and ceiling, trapping them all inside the mine. They spend a long amount of time traveling until they come to a big, grand hall. Gimli, seeing a door, runs toward it, and we see what is inside. It's a tomb where Gimli is crying because his cousin is dead. Gandalf finds a book in a dead dwarf's hands and reads its last words. However, Pippin, another hobbit, actually drops a bucket down a well. This makes so much noise and attracts the goblins to the tomb. When the fighting starts in the actual tomb, Boromir helps bar the doors. Since he fights orcs from Mordor, he knows from the looks and sounds of the creature that the goblins have a cave troll. Because Boromir is saved by Aragorn and helps save Sam from the troll, this gives him a chance to connect with him later. The reason he is saved is because Boromir is on the front lines. With his sword and shield, does his best to kill as many goblins as possible. Could this be because of the hobbits, or he has something to prove to the others? We don't really know, but the fight continues until the goblins and the cave troll are dead. When they regain their composure, they run from the tomb to escape the horde in Moria. It's too late. The Fellowship is surrounded by countless goblins, but all of a sudden, another being is coming. The goblins scatter like roaches when a light switch is turned on. Even these countless goblins are afraid of this new presence, so Gandalf tells them to run, and even he looks afraid. They come to a new area with broken stairs, going down and down. In fact, there are wide gaps in the pathway. Boromir knows the hobbits will have trouble crossing these gaps, so he jumps with them. He even catches Sam with Aragorn and tosses him over the gap. Boromir has taken a protective role for the hobbits in the Fellowship, submitting his role to protect the hobbits for the rest of the film, and reflects his role as a hero of the people of Gondor. They all make it through the broken bridges and are almost out. Unfortunately, the creature that scared off the goblins has caught up with the Fellowship. A Balrog. A monster of shadow and flame, which normal weapons cannot harm. It towers over them because it is a large creature. It roars, so you know it means harm. They must run and make it to the bridge that is the exit of the mine. Gandalf stops halfway across this bridge to stop this evil creature, either from harming the Fellowship or to protect the ring itself. He breaks the bridge so the Balrog can't follow, but its whip grabs Gandalf's leg. It drags him down to the edge of the bridge as he hangs onto it. Frodo, in distress, tries to run and help Gandalf, but Boromir stops him. Boromir knows that he cannot help him in time, so he protects him from himself. In doing this, he also saves the mission to save the world by making sure the ring is safe, unknowingly or not. When they leave the mine, all the remaining Fellowship mourn in their own way. Because Aragorn is on a mission and knows what will happen, says they have to go now. Boromir, seeing the pain on the hobbits' faces, says, "Give them a moment, for pity's sake!" Aragorn responds with, "By nightfall this place will be covered with orc. They must make it to Lothlorien, an elf city." Boromir knows this and is shamed inside that no one will trust the men that he depends on and fights for. Also may be disappointed in Aragorn not trusting in men as well. In any case, they move on to the forested city. The Fellowship, after shortly entering the forest, are stopped by elves. They are held up and questioned on why the group is there. The elves know the ring is with Frodo and don't want him there. However, a magical elven woman wants to meet with them, so the Fellowship is allowed a safe haven for rest. They meet with this elf woman named Galadriel, who seems to be able to see inside the minds of the Fellowship. We know this from the POV of Frodo, as she knows what happened to Gandalf without them speaking.
Tonight, you will sleep.
Welcome, Frodo of the Shire. One who has seen the eye.
We see Boromir as Galadriel looks upon him, and he can barely look back at her. He is struggling with some inner turmoil of some kind. When he tries to look back again, he can't anymore and cries. Her thoughts must have reached his head, and what she is saying has brought Boromir to tears. We see more into this later on when they are ready to rest for the night. Aragorn comes upon Boromir and tries to comfort him because he thinks he's on guard, which is why he can't sleep.
Take some rest. These borders are well protected.
I will find no rest here.
He tells Boromir to relax, the borders are secure. However, this is not why he can't sleep, because Boromir is not on alert. He is greatly troubled. He says, "I will find no sleep here." Then he tells what was really going on in his head during meeting Galadriel. He says he heard a voice in his head talking about his father and the fall of Gondor. However, there is still hope, but he cannot see it, since he says it has been a long while since we've had hope. From what we know from the scene on Osgiliath, he thinks there is hope. Was this a contradiction? Maybe at the time he did believe that, but with a reminder that his father runs Gondor, deep inside he knows the truth that Gondor is doomed, because the leadership is weak. Boromir was in some sort of denial, and Galadriel brought it to the surface in the forefront of his mind. This is another part of the concerned look on Boromir's face as he left Osgiliath. Also with news that Mordor is growing in power, as he hears from the council that they could have more power if they had the ring. As Aragorn sits beside him, Boromir tells more of his woes to him. This is important because this is the future king of Gondor he is talking to. Also, these should be 2 men of Gondor. Boromir says that my father is a noble man, but he is failing his people, and they are losing hope. Boromir continues, "My father looks to me to fix things, and I would do it. The weight of his people is on his shoulders because of his father. He does not want to disappoint him. Boromir wants the glory of Gondor restored, including that seeing evil from Mordor crushed. I don't think Boromir has seen it in its full glory, but has imagined it. So he asks Aragorn, 'Have you ever seen it?' Meaning at full glory. As he asks, he describes Gondor in its past glory and in his dreams. Aragorn responds that he has seen the White City long ago. Boromir's attitude changes from fear to gladness at the prospect of just talking to Aragorn. He says, "One day our path will lead us there. The Tower Guard will take up the call, and Lords of Gondor have returned." Seems like a flip of him telling that Gondor needs no king from earlier. This makes Aragorn a little uncomfortable because he gave up on the idea of returning to Gondor. Even more so as a lord or king, he does not want the job of being a king. This is the first glimpse of Aragorn thinking the race of men are worthy of saving. Nonetheless, Boromir now sees hope in Aragorn coming to Gondor. What is remaining of the Fellowship go down a great river. When they rest at night on the shore, Boromir notices that Gollum is still following them, as Aragorn confirms. He comments on how he thought he would lose him on the river, but guess not. Boromir is concerned that Gollum could alert the enemy to their location. Since they were talking earlier in Lothlorien, he raises a suggestion to take another route, one he thinks is safer. He thinks they should regroup from Minas Tirith and go to Mordor from a place of strength. Aragorn says in response, "There is no strength in Gondor that can aid us." Disappointed and upset, Boromir says, "You were quick enough to trust the elves." Boromir wants to be trusted and his men to be respected. In fact, he continues with, "You have such little faith in your own people. Yes, there is weakness and frailty, but there is courage also." Boromir calls out the fear within Aragorn and tells him you are afraid and ashamed of who and what you are. This is not the first time in the movie Aragorn is called out for running away from his lineage and destiny.
You will not see that. You are afraid. All your life, you have hidden in the shadows, scared of who you are, of what you are.
The only person in the film he talks about this is his love interest, Arwen. With anyone else, he avoids the subject. In fact, he is in a land far from the troubles, a ranger in the wildlands. He would rather be a free spirit, but he cannot avoid the true nature of doing the greater good. Boromir pushes the issue with Aragorn. From his actions, words, or lack thereof, Boromir knows Aragorn is afraid of being compared to past mankind's sins. When Boromir calls out his fears, he grabs his arm to keep him from walking away. More and more, this upsets Aragorn. Instead of yelling, he hits Boromir with the same sort of truth. He responds with, "I will not leave the ring within 100 leagues of your city." It seems Aragorn wanted to insult Boromir with the line, as he said, "your city." This means, well, not mine. I don't belong to the city of men, and your city is one to call home is full of evil people who would take the ring. Even though it is an insult, Aragorn is correct that if the ring came to Gondor, then Denethor would take it by force, as Boromir was ordered to do so by him, but he just wants men to be respected by the other races. Another small detail is that he is rowing in a different boat than Frodo. Aragorn does not want him near the ring at all. Boromir knows this, and it is written on his face. When the Fellowship can no longer go any further because of a waterfall, they go ashore. As they talk about what to do next, Frodo and Boromir part from the rest. Frodo parts from the group because the ring makes him feel alone, and it weighs on his soul. After all, this is what Galadriel references when she told him about her magic ring. To be a ring bearer is to be alone. The Fellowship knows that both are missing because Boromir dropped his shield as ashore, as Frodo is not there as well.
None of us should wander alone. You least of all. So much depends on you. Frodo?
Boromir goes from the Fellowship to pick up wood. This is probably for fire, but this could be an excuse to talk to Frodo about the ring. When Boromir finds Frodo, he is picking up mentioned pieces of wood. He says to Frodo, none of us should wander alone, at least of all you. It's interesting to say the least because he is a person that Frodo shouldn't be alone with. Because he has made it clear that he wants the ring, and has very little willpower toward its influence, Boromir continues with saying that Frodo carries the weight of them all, and knows why he seeks solitude. He sees it day by day. He suffers from the burden of the ring. This is correct that Frodo suffers, but I think the ring is using Boromir's emotions for its people and the need to protect others. So because of that, he says to Frodo, "There are other ways, Frodo, for the paths we might take." Frodo sort of interrupts him as he is picking up what is really happening right now. Frodo responds with, "I know what you might say, for it might seem like wisdom, but the warning in my heart." Boromir, with a puzzled look, is probably thinking of a way to talk to Frodo on his own way of thinking, so he can hand the ring over willingly. Nonetheless, Boromir says, "Warning? Against what?" as he feels kind of insulted and moves closer, more aggressively toward Frodo. Both their body language spells out there will be trouble, as Frodo is sort of chased in this moment. Boromir keeps speaking as he moves, saying to the effect of, "If we, the Fellowship, stay this course, we will fail and cannot let fear hold us back from using the ring against Sauron in Gondor." Frodo says in response that he is sure that destroying the ring is the only way to destroy the evil of Mordor for good. Boromir's anger is shown, and he slams down the piles of wood, saying, "I only ask the strength to protect my people!" Again, the ring is tempting him to want it, and if Boromir holds the ring once, he will most likely put it on. Frodo believes this. If he does put on the ring, it will be a beacon to Sauron. Boromir, tired of this game, just asks directly for the ring, but still wanted to be friendly, says, "If you just lend me the ring."
There is no other way.
I ask only for the strength to defend my people. If you would but lend me the ring.
No.
When Frodo refuses him, Boromir throws out insults that he really doesn't mean, but were probably in thoughts in the back of his mind. He calls the Hobbit a thief because he thinks Frodo is stealing his chance to save the world Boromir's way. Frodo tries to calm him down by saying, "You are not yourself." He's trying to get him to see that this is not the person he wants to be, that he needs to look inward to stop himself. Frodo can't stop Boromir from taking the ring from him by force. Instead of doing that, he deflects that notion and replies with, "What chance do you have?" Meaning Frodo is just a hobbit, a little man. You have no combat skills and therefore will die. He even says that you will beg for death before the end because he thinks of him being so frail. Again, the ring is using his need to protect people against Boromir, and in that moment, to protect the hobbits. The ring twists his need to serve others into needing the ring to secure that goal. The ring is twisting his ideals into something dark, which means he is going to get the ring from the defenseless hobbit, and if this journey continues, anyone could take it from him. Frodo is done with this conversation and tries to leave, turning his back on Boromir. I don't know if he was just insulted or not, but Boromir is because this little man has turned his back on him. Boromir has had enough and charges Frodo, and it's too late for Frodo to run away, and is caught. He yells, "You fool!" before he tackles Frodo and tries to take the ring. Boromir babbles and yells as he wrestles him for the ring. What he says is really important, so I need to quote it while he does this. Stealing of the ring. He says, "It is not yours, save by unhappy chance. It could have been mine. It should have been mine. Give it to me." What Boromir is saying is straightforward for the most part, but there is something deeper.
No! It is not yours, save by unhappy chance. It couldn't be mine. It should be mine. Give it to me!
When he says it should be mine, I think he's comparing himself to Isildur. Boromir thinks he should be the king of Gondor instead of Aragorn. The phrase, "It is not yours saved by unhappy chance," it is more difficult to dissect. Of course, I believe it is Boromir saying it's not yours, it's obvious. He thinks it belongs to him. Not to deal with by unhappy chance. This means you don't deserve this great gift, which is the ring, and Frodo found it by dumb luck. Therefore, he didn't earn it, so he wants it because Boromir thinks himself a king among men. His selfish desires come out in full display as he is trying to steal the ring. While trying to steal the ring, Frodo has no choice but to put on the ring to try to escape. When he puts on the ring, he is invisible, and that startles Boromir, which lets Frodo push him off, and doing so, escapes. Still in an enraged state, Boromir yells out as he were just shouting at Frodo, but the heavens as well, like an angry prayer. He says that, "I can see into your mind. You will take the ring to Sauron, to the death of us all." The last part he says, "Curse you, and all halflings!" The ring really does mess with a person's very nature and what they want to be, what they want to protect. While still not seen, he trips Boromir, and he falls to the ground. He slowly gets up, and his expression and sound of his voice has changed. There is worry in his voice, and he looks on the verge of crying. He calls out for Frodo. This time he looks like he wants forgiveness for his actions. He doesn't want to be like this. He has betrayed himself, and now knows it. He was in a trance like before. He says, "What have I done? as to forgive himself out loud. Now he wants to find Frodo for an apology. He calls out for him, but there is no answer because Frodo can't trust anyone and knows he must go alone to Mount Doom.
Frodo. What have I done? Please, Frodo.
Frodo needs to escape because the Uruk-hai have caught up with them. They want the ring and will kill all others in their path. Merry and Pippin buy time for Frodo to escape with the ring, but they are out in the open because of these actions. The Uruk-hai come closer and about to capture them, then Boromir intervenes. He fights for the hobbits, almost like he is trying to make up for trying to steal the ring from Frodo. This is with actions instead of words. He is saying sorry for cursing all hobbits. Because of Boromir's bravery, the hobbits also fight, and by using the skills he taught them earlier. During the fight, Boromir uses his war horn, or the Horn of Gondor. For what purpose? Well, to let the others know he is in trouble because he cares for the hobbits' safety. He needs the aid of the others in order to fulfill his duty. Unfortunately, it's easier said than done because there are so many Uruk-hai that they must kill in order to disengage to help Boromir. Also, the byproduct of him using the horn is that the enemy knows where they are. Boromir took that chance and believed in the Fellowship. The three of them are being overrun, and Boromir tells the hobbits to run, again putting others before himself. The hobbits start to run, but because of everyone's bravery, they stay and throw rocks to slow down the enemy. Everything is going well enough until an Uruk-hai shows up with the white hand of Saruman on his head. He holds a massive bow, and while Boromir is consumed in melee combat, hits him in the upper chest. The hobbits stare at Boromir and stop throwing rocks. Their sad faces gloom and their voices silent. They know somewhere in their hearts Boromir will die. Boromir takes it like a champ and keeps fighting no matter what. You can feel all the hate for the character wash away in this scene, as the audience, like the hobbits, are in awe. Not just in amazement at his toughness, but almost for his chivalry, his willingness to protect the innocent. We see his true nature, what he wants to be, a knight of Gondor and a hero to others. One after another, he is shot with arrows, but still he fights on. When he is down, once he looks into the hobbits' eyes, they do the same. With one look, Boromir finds strength and fights again to protect them. It takes 4 arrows to make him stop fighting, and he loses his power to fight on. His body gives out, even though his spirit is willing. Seeing their guardian fall, Merry and Pippin are inspired and pick up arms against the mixed orcs. It is still all in vain, as they are taken, and their leader stands in front of Boromir, ready to end his life with a single arrow to the head. Boromir says nothing, but looks the leader in the eye to make sure he remembers his face. He is ready for death, but is saved by Aragorn in the last minute. Saved by the person he denied as king. The Uruk-hai leader and him fight, and Aragorn is the victor. After the battle, he comes to Boromir's side as he says his last words. With all his willpower, he tries to talk, with Aragorn knowing this will kill him quicker. He wants to know what happened to Frodo, and Aragorn says, "I let Frodo go." This fills him with hope and doubt at once when he tells Aragorn he failed, where you, the king, succeeded. Boromir wants to tell all people, the one being Aragorn, that he was weak, to ask for forgiveness for being a weak man. He tells all of his sins that betrayed the Fellowship, even more so against Frodo and Aragorn. He forgives Boromir by saying, "You fought bravely. You kept your honor." He is saying, even your lowest point, you are trying to do the right thing, even to the end. The future king gave him his pardon to make Boromir very happy. His soul is at peace with these words. He knows he is going to die, so he refuses help and grabs Aragorn's hand, bonding them as like brothers, in arms and as men of Gondor. He tells Aragorn, "The world of men will fall, and all will come to darkness, and my city to ruin." Now we know, as an audience, what Boromir has in his heart, the love of his people. Aragorn looks into his eyes as Boromir now grabs his shoulder, meaning you, the king, must carry on Gondor's legacy, saving the race of men. Aragorn must lead them to salvation. Aragorn confirms this notion by telling him that I doubt if my bloodline is enough, but I will not the White City fall. Take 3. Aragorn confirms this notion by telling him that I doubt if my bloodline is enough, but I will not let our White City fall. This means Minas Tirith, the crown jewel of Gondor. Boromir hears "our people" from Aragorn, and he repeats it. He knows from hearing this that he is being resembled to mankind. Aragorn sees the strength of Boromir, which gives Aragorn hope. Boromir is proud that he died a man from what he just witnessed. Boromir reaches for his sword, and Aragorn gives him to him, so he can die a warrior's death, a fitting end to a knight fallen in battle. He crosses his arms on his chest with the sword, and they both know the end is near. With his last breath, Boromir says his last words, "I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king." Aragorn says a prayer to himself as his soul drifts from his body. Without Boromir's words and actions toward Aragorn, he would not consider being king, because he saw his bravery and willingness to help others. He knows a race of men need a strong leader, one to put the needs of the people instead of themselves. He is king because Boromir led him to the right direction and confronted his fear of being king, and not to be ashamed of to be a human being. They put Boromir's body on a boat and sent him onto the water. His body goes over the waterfall as if it was like a Viking funeral. Instead of a pyre of fire to cleanse the body, it's water instead. The fall is like sending the soul to the afterlife, a send-off to a hero. After that, Aragorn plans to let Frodo go on his own, but wants to go after Merry and Pippin. Also, it could be considered that Aragorn wants to protect Merry and Pippin because of what Boromir would have wanted as well. But all of them think it's a good idea. When the boat hits the bottom, the war horn was loosened and went more down the river. The horn is split as a result of hitting said bottom. People from Gondor found it and have given it to Faramir, his brother. Later on in the Two Towers, Faramir looks at the half-broken war horn as a reminder of Boromir. The half-broken war horn is symbolism of Boromir's death in his hands. This brings us back to Boromir in Osgiliath, before going to Rivendell. When it comes down to what kind of character Boromir is, in one word it would be human. In fact, Boromir is the most human character in Lord of the Rings films. He is a courageous fighter, but is easily tempted. Like a normal everyday person, has a lot of gray areas in between a black and white of a piece of paper. Boromir seems simple on the surface, but on closer inspection is complex. Like with all human behavior, when we know we did something wrong, we want forgiveness for what we have done wrong. Boromir knows he did wrong and is stronger for knowing, so he taking action to wanting it. Because of overcoming his weakness, Boromir inspires Aragorn to become king. This is reflected in the Two Towers and Return of the King. Aragorn in Helm's Deep says he wants to die. He's going to die as a human being, caring for Gondor so much that he has said that it will fall without the help of the ghosts. The start of all of this was Boromir's final words.
Then I shall die as one of them.
I would have followed you, my brother. My captain. My king.
Thank you so much for watching my video about Boromir. It's taking a long time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I plan to do more stuff like this. And if you have any advice, let me know. Give me a follow on Twitch, sub to my channel here to join the lovely Discord, blah blah blah. You know, all that good stuff. Take care and stay safe out there.